All right, here is the speedrun of the Excel Esports case memory game. We're going to start by counting symbols in a grid. So first I'm going to give this thing a named range. Using a little, control shift arrow keys to move around, and then count if G, I just called it, so G for grid. Count that thing in there. Then this is an address lookup, right? So I got a Lambda for that. If you want to download my Lambda, see the link in the description. Um, this one, then we just need to see if these match, right? So I'm going to wrap rows, 2 symbols per row, and then I need to know if it matches, right? So if it matches, then 1 point, otherwise 0 points. And then sum up the points. All right, and then level 4, what row can you find this in? So here, x2 call gives me all of them, right? So here's the address, here's the symbol. The row number is only numbers of this. And then what I need to know what the symbol is, right? So if I look up this on the key here, returning this, what? Control, Shift, up arrow, down arrow, like that. So now it's just, X lookup, when there's multiple, it'll just find the first one. So I just look up there and return on that to solve level 4. And for level 5, right, I can do address lookup of the grid, and I can just feed it this address with my Lambda, right? So those are the symbols. And then I can do a frequency table. And then what? So if I choose calls of this, I take the second column, that's this. So then the integer portion of this divided by 2 is the number of matches you could get for each symbol. And you sum those up to get the total number of points, right? Just level 5. Now for level 6, we're going to play a game. This is where I blew it on the live attempt. Wrap rows, you need to start here, right? Like I started here and then everything was off by 1 on level 6. So I did not get a good score on this one live. But now I've learned from my mistakes, so I'm not using the short, I'm just going to use the whole thing. So wrap rows of that by 2. I'm gonna just skip the example and move on to 101. And then now I have to do what? Extra turns is like the only thing that matters here, right? I think. Match, so if this equals this, then 1, otherwise 0. So active player is player 1 for the first one, right? This match thing is the same for everywhere. And then if the last one was a match, then the same active player, otherwise 3 minus the active player number gives you the other player number. And then it's what's the difference between the scores, right? So player 1 score and player 2. Oh, there's a lucky symbol also, right? So there's the active player. I need to know the lucky symbol for the active player. So is if this equals 1, then this one, otherwise this one. Right, so that's the lucky symbol. And then, so I got to track the scores as I go. So this is player 1 score, player 2 score, both of them start out at 0. So if the active player is 2, then carry it down because it's not my turn. If it is not a match, then carry it down because I didn't get a match. If it is a match, then check to see if it's lucky, right? So if it's lucky, then my score is 2 times the previous score plus 1. The only other possibility is a non-lucky match, which is this plus 1. Right, so this is similar for this, except it's that, and all of these are based on this, based on player 1 starting score, not player 2 starting score, assuming I did that right. So hopefully this is it. And then it is the absolute value of this minus this, right? No, that's not right. Something, oh, the lucky symbol needs to be locked, that's why. That looks plausible. So let's see if we're right so far. 780 is a nice round number. So yes, everything's right so far. Now for level 7, and again, I'm going to skip the example because it's the wrong size. Oh, and my lookup is being weird. I don't know why it does this. I know how to fix it. I just don't know why it does it. Maybe I'll figure that out someday. Just got to get rid of these protections. And it should work. All right, so now I'm going to call this the board, right? And there's a cursor and an address, contents, and odd previous is like the most important thing here, right? So the cursor is sequence 900, right? Because there's always 900 of them. And then the address is that, right? 900, yeah, it's always 900. Contents is address lookup. This is on G, right? The grid, look up this thing. So now what matters, the main thing that matters here is like you don't have to keep track of the whole grid. You don't have to keep track of what you remember and what you don't. All you got to keep track of is have we seen this an odd number of times or not, right? So the previous count is count if this range, right, I40 to $40 is all the previous stuff. So count how many times we've seen the frog before now, right? And of course it's 0 here. But like here, a cherry, right? We've seen a cherry once before. So this, I mean, you could actually solve the whole thing with just this. Count if, and actually all I need is negative, negative is odd. You could solve the whole thing with this, except for lucky matches. We also have to worry about lucky matches, so we'll make sure to handle that also. Let me see if I can remember the easiest way to do this. So now I want to model the game over here, right? So there's a turn, a pick number, and an active player. I want to know if they're picking from the board or if they're picking from their memory or not, right? And I need to know where the cursor is for the board picks. I need to know if it's an odd number, right? If we've seen it an odd number of times before, then I can do symbol and match. And that should be it, right? So the turn here, I don't know how many turns are going to be. I'll just go out to 2,000. This is more than enough. All right, so the pick number here is, and this I've got a little thing I could do, right? Cycles 2000 of 2, right? So this just says 1, 2, 1, 2. The active player, there's no extra turns, so if is odd turn number, then the active player is 1, otherwise 2. Are they picking from board? Well, the first one is. We'll worry about the second one later. Cursor starts out as 1. Is it an odd number from the board? Well, let's do ifs, right? So if it is not from the board, then it's not an odd one from the board. Otherwise, X lookup. Otherwise, X lookup the cursor number on here, locked, returning, here, locked. So this tells me whether I'm getting one we've seen an odd number of times before. The symbol, of course, is here, and this is just to check for lucky matches, because it's possible that even without your memory, you just happen to get 2 in a row. Like on the example, the person just lucks out and gets a sailboat twice in the beginning. So I got to check for that. And then match. The first one's never a match, so I'll do that, handle that in the next one. All right, so am I coming from the board or not? This is like the key to the whole thing. So ifs, right? If this is a second pick, right? And the first pick did not come from the board, so this equals 0. Then that means I'm picking from my memory, and my second pick is not going to be from the thing. The other possibility is if my last one was an odd one from the board and it was not a match, it's not a score, then no, I don't pick from the board. I pick from my memory. Otherwise, I pick from the board. All right? True, true. Otherwise, true one. Right? Um, Cursor is the previous cursor plus picking from the board. This I did already. This I did already. Right? Except I need to lock the pieces here. Oh, but I need to account for it not being from the board. So if it is not from the board, then you pick the one above it. Otherwise, you look it up on the board. And then match, right? So if and, right? So it's got to be a second pick to count as a match. And the two symbols have to equal each other. If both of those are true, then yes, it's a match. Otherwise, it's not a match. And hopefully that's about it. I mean, see what we're doing here. These symbols aren't symbols, right? It's got to be from here. All right. This person's picking cherries forever. That's not right. So if this is from the board, this is not so. This is still supposed to be from the board though, because it is a match. So U52 is not 0. And what O53 is, if it is a second pick, is when that's true, right? This only works if it is not a third pick, but a second pick, right? That's the only time that you can go from your memory, is if you're on your second pick like that. All right, so now player 1 and player 2, the sum if, why not, of the active player equals 1. And I'll get their score in a second here. The active player, you just do equals 1 like that. And then the sum range is this. I got to take care of the errors. So this stuff, I'll just wrap in a if error. Yeah, I mean, if it's NA, right, then you're just getting a 0 in that case, right? So that's player 1 score. And this is player 2's score, right? We'll do it like this so it matches. This is player 1. So look up this on here, returning here. And hopefully this is it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. All right, symbol has only one matching pair on the grid, equals frequency table G. And then go to the bottom, and there it is. There's only 2 of the trophy. What symbol never gets matched across the level 3 games? Right? So in level 3, I'm going to do what? The filter of this by this, right? And I'll concatenate it. This shows me all the symbols that are getting matched. Put this out for everything, right? And then there is one symbol that is missing. So if I put these there, get rid of the error. So if I string to array this whole thing, that'll get me the whole thing as an array. And then I do the set difference of this whole thing, right? Minus the set of this should give me the one that is not used, right? Which is the pizza set difference. You know, it makes sets, takes a difference. You get the idea, right? Which symbol, if you go through the grid in the regular reading order, so now that's x2 call G, right? Just like we had before. That's the right order. And then sequence 900 tells me the number, and then I can just look up what's the greatest number, right? So I look up this on here, returning here. This gives me the number that we find it at, right? And then the biggest of this returning on here is the trophy. How many matching pairs if we take only odd columns, right? So let's make a mask for that. So equals is odd sequence something 30, right? That's it. So now filter G by this mask here. And that's this. And now frequency table it, right? Is what I'm looking for. And then, so the integer of this divided by 2. Sum all these up, and it looks like 214 according to my bar at the bottom. How many frogs did player 1 get in level 7? Well, this is a player 1 frog match. All right, so I need the frog symbol here, which I'll just call frog. And equals if and, it has to be player 1, it has to be a match, and it has to be a frog. If all that's true, then 1, otherwise 0. And then just make this sum of this with, you know, the errors filtered out. X2 call will filter out my errors. And turn on my what if table. It takes a second. And answer in the bar at the bottom is 88. Stop. Thank you for watching. Is that correct? I think it is. Yes, it is. Just took a second. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.